Good morning. Time for another Take Time Tuesday. We start by breathing, so breathe in. Breathe out. I do not often discuss faith, religion, whatever, because it can be very divisive, especially when you're trying to promote mental wellness. And for someone like me, faith is complicated. As a Jew, as a gay man, as an academic, all of these things tend to make faith difficult to have a position on. But I do have a very good understanding of faith. I have spent a decade when I was younger doing active research and trying to understand faith. I grew up in a faith-based household, although reformed faith-based, so it wasn't strict, but it was very informative. And we were encouraged to see the faith of other people around us and understand them, and so we did. And the one thing that I need to get you guys to understand is we are at a point in our history where we're confusing fundamentalist and fundamentally. My mother is fundamentally a Jew. She calls herself a Jew because she was born into the faith. She follows a majority of the practices. She does it in her own way, and she questions it quite a bit, which in the Jewish faith is actually very allowed. That's fundamentally a Jew. You can be fundamentally a Christian because you accept the teachings of Jesus and you follow the Bible. You can be fundamentally a Muslim, fundamentally a Navajo shaman, whatever. Fundamentalist means I believe in a very specific way, and if you don't believe the same way I do, you're not worthy of being a human being. You have to worship exactly the same way I do, or there's going to be consequences. And there are fundamentalists in every faith-based practice. That is never a good thing. To be of the opinion that your faith is 100% the only way to do it, especially if you don't have a theological background in your own faith, is dangerous. And we have seen that time and time again. We are currently in an administration where the SecDef is a fundamentalist Christian nationalist. And let's break that down really simply. That is a relatively new term for an old ideology. In the 1900s and late 1800s, the people that were Christian nationalists were very destructive to society, and you knew them because they wore special white pointed hoods. They don't do that anymore. A modern Christian nationalist has decided that the separation of church and state is a myth and that the founding fathers want this to be a Christian nation, which a 30-second Google could disenfranchise you of that opinion, because the founding fathers were Christian by social custom. Most of them were humanists. If you read their actual material, you would know that, but the same people who believe that refuse to read, so it's a moot point. But to have a fundamentalist that is leading the strongest military in the world, who wants to actively create a crusade and is doing so now, he has gone on record that this is a crusade to make both the United States a Christian nation and to bring his version of peace to the Middle East for profit, and who has gone on record to promote war crimes as valid, speaks for itself. He considers himself a Knight Templar, which, again, if you bother to look at the history, did not end well, but is very destructive to what's happening in our country now. We are using fundamentalist ideology to destroy the people around you. Or more simply, these are people that have woken up and chosen violence and are taking it out on the country, both economically, militarily, socially, and the people who know better refuse to engage at that same level because we know better. But maybe it's time we did, because there's no other way to fight that level of ignorance. So what does it mean for you and your personal mental health in your day-to-day routine? You come across these people that believe the same way that Hegseth does and other people in power do. you realize that there really is no talking to them. So don't. Do not engage in them on their own terms. They're not listening to you anyway. They're looking for a fight. Find those little ways of disengaging them, confusing them, whatever works to not sacrifice your mental health. And remember, the power you have to remove them from office is currently the only power you have, because anything short of that is the Second American Civil War, which, quite frankly, I'm too old to deal with. I don't want to. If I have to, I will. Different story. Let's think this through, though. Let's apply logic and reasoning, because nobody else is. Something to think about. Y'all have a good day.